What's good, y'all? It's Wanye from FACOFF, and we are here for yet another RC car video. This one's a little bit different because we've actually got two cars that we're going to be reviewing today. Two that we've already actually reviewed, but we're going to be doing a separate review of another piece on each of the cars. So, cars we're going to be looking at today are the Serpent S411 with the drive belt, as you guys see, that runs along the inside of the car in the middle. I actually had to fix this because recently I did a video where I was driving outside of a Bank of America in a parking lot, and halfway through, or actually more of a quarter of the way through the video, the car hit a bump, hit another bump, and then knocked the little drive belt off the gear and then off the little metal piece here, so I had to fit it back on, which wasn't too difficult, but again, that's something that we need to look at in today's episode, because we're going to be determining and comparing and contrasting the drive belt with the more common center drive shaft. Now, this here, the center drive shaft, runs along the inside of most RC cars. You guys can see it here. It's that little purple bar, not here, but below it. And if I spin it here, you can kind of see it. Well, you won't be able to see it spin because it doesn't have any writing on it, but you should be able to see it right down in there. It's that bar that extends through the middle. And I actually wondered, because I've had all cars that had either drive shafts or two-wheel drives that didn't really have one. What is better? Is it a center drive shaft or is it a drive belt? Because I've seen a lot of RC cars that have drive shafts on them, but I've not seen too many RC cars that have drive belts. And that's actually why I wanted to go and pick up the Serpent so badly, because it was a car that did have a drive belt, and I thought it was a little bit more technical, a little bit more manual, a little bit more, what's the word I could say here? It just feels a little bit more real to driving an actual car, because you actually got the gears, which all cars have, but gears that are on a track, kind of similar to what you'd have with the serpentine belts in a car. So it is really interesting how this car moves, and I find it to be a lot more interesting than the drive shafts, but it is a little bit more difficult to work on. That being said, I have a whiteboard here with everything written out. We've got drive shaft on one side and drive belt on the other, with 4 categories. We've got the first category being durability, second being price, third being noise, and then the fourth being performance. And below that, we've got little number bars for each category, drive shaft and drive belt. And we're going to add up the totals of all of the points that we get. It's going to be either 1 or 2 points, just so we keep it simple. And the lowest amount of points will win. So it's going to be like golf. So we'll go down the list for each and every car, for each and every category: performance, noise, price, durability, and we'll write in which one is better by indicating a lower number. So the lower number, again, on each of the categories and on the final total will be the one that wins, because I'm going to be adding up the totals and they're going to be here at the bottom. All right, so we're going to go out of order a little bit, and we're going to take the first category, being price, on for both cars. So this one we don't actually need the car for. This, we're going to go to the instruction manuals for both books, for both cars. We have parts identification and the center dog bone or center drive shaft, 157 millimeter. It's part number 03003. Again, for the Lightning STK. And I looked those up. They're around $12 is where they start. Of course, that's just the basic If you want to get one that's a little bit more durable, which for a brushed car, you're not really going to need anything. But we're not looking at the car itself. We're looking at just drive shaft versus drive belt. So drive shaft, if you were to pick one up, it's going to be around $12, $15 as your starting point for a decent drive shaft, or center dogma, whatever you want to call it. For the drive belt, that is going to be part number 401351 right here, and that is with Serpent. I think there's another drive belt that you actually need as well. Let me just make sure I can get that piece for you guys. So don't want you to run your car and not be able to have the right piece. The other piece is 401353. So 401353, and the other piece, the longer drive belt piece, is again 401351. So those are the two pieces you're gonna need for this. Each piece starts off at around $8, so 8 and 8 is 16. The smaller rings, Kevlar belts, typically run a little bit cheaper, $5. So it'll ultimately come out to about the same price. You're not going to be spending more on a drive belt that you would be on a center drive shaft, dog bones. However, you have to look at the cheapness versus the more durable parts. So durability is an actual category in here, so we're not going to touch on this too much right now. But for a small reminder, the drive belts are actually made of a wire Kevlar on the inside with the rubber around, so it holds up together well if it's scraping up against the ground or whatever, because it's going to be doing that. That being said, if you get a drive belt that is not Kevlar, which do tend to be more frequent and tend to be cheaper and more appealing to people who don't have as much money, it will not work as well, and you're actually going to be spending more money on the part that's not as good and the Kevlar. So like I said, there are drive belts that are $8 that you'll end up spending about $16 for, but if you spend a little bit extra, maybe $20, $25, $30, you'll get a drive belt that is durable. It has that Kevlar in it. Same with the drive shaft. If you get one that is $25, $30, chances are you'll get a better material rather than one that could, if on one crash you happen to hit a curb too hard, head on, or even flip or something like that and it gets damaged, that could damage the rest of your car. So you don't want that. So really, they're about the same price. So for the totals, I think I'm going to mark them down and give them the same price. I'm going to be fair, or the same point total. So we'll give a 1 for the drive shaft and a 1 for the price. All right, next category we're going to look at is the durability for the drive shaft versus the drive belt. Each are useful in their own way and durable in their own way. If we take a look at drive shafts first, typically they're made of 3 materials, either aluminum or another type of hard metal, and then hard plastic. My choice would be either a hard plastic or that harder metal. Aluminum tends to break a little bit more if you have a crash. They're also meant for slower speeds or brushed vehicles, something like that. So if you're gonna go with a fast speed basher, I would go with a hard plastic drive shaft. That way, if you have a collision that is head on, the drive shaft will just break, so that way it doesn't have any damage to the car if you don't notice that it bends, or if it doesn't break entirely and you continue running the car, that could have lasting damages on the car itself or the gears inside. So that's something that I would prefer typically, is the plastic over the metal. That's what I was running in the Vendetta, and that's typically what Armor runs for their drive shafts. They're very durable and I like them. For my Lightning STK, I have think that's an aluminum drive shaft slash center drive shaft slash dog bone. And it works for the car. It definitely is, I guess you'd say if you were to upgrade that, I would want to upgrade the center drive shaft, just because I feel like you would get more out of it if you had a thicker one. But you know, you'd see. So next we've got the drive belt, and I actually want to show you guys here. On the car, you can see there's a couple of brown like fibers inside the belt itself, and that's nothing you really need to worry about. That is Kevlar. It's Kevlar fiber that wraps around the entire drive belt just to hold it together a little bit better. So if the rubber breaks off a little bit, which it has, then the fibers are there to kind of keep the belt on the gear continuously and have it run for longer without having to replace the belt. Now you will have to replace it at some point, so it's not as durable as the drive shaft, to which if you don't crash into anything or damage the drive shaft or the car itself, then you shouldn't have a problem and you should never need to replace it. So just based off of that fact, I'm gonna give the drive shaft a 1 and the drive belt a 2. But personally, I think that the Kevlar is just as good in the bands as the drive shaft is, because as it will break, it is withstanding very high friction and speeds of, you know, up to 30 plus miles an hour. So this car definitely has to take a high load, and you know, you need a very strong belt to be able to do that. So let's take another look at another one of these categories here in a second. All right, so next category we're going to look at is the performance. That's at the bottom here. And how I'm going to judge that category is based off of my previous experience with the car and what I noticed that was different between the drive shaft and the drive belt. So right off the bat, I think I'm going to start with the drive belt first, and something that I've noticed. And you guys can see this, I guess, if you look on some of the videos that I'm posting either before this or after this. There'll be a Arma Vendetta video that comes out that has the same perspective as another video that I have of the Serpent that's coming out, or probably already is out. I'm not sure of the timeline of the recording releases, but I have a couple different videos coming out with the perspective of looking through the actual window itself of the car. So it's like as if you were in the driver's seat driving the RC car, and you're able to see the insides of the car, the tires move and everything like that. So it's really cool. And in that, you can kind of see when we stop that the stopping with the drive belt is instant. It comes to basically a complete stop, and that's because the gears are running directly on the belt, and we're not running on a drive shaft. When you run on a drive shaft, which we're switching over to that right now, the drive shaft spins, and so it's taking technically the load off of the gears itself and helping distribute the energy through the car, so that way the car can have all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, whatever. So it takes an extra second or second and a half to slow the car down. You'll see the car come to a rolling stop and then stop, rolling stop. Whereas the drive belt car just comes to a stop as soon as you left off the throttle. The car is going to stop moving. It's as if you have like a drag brake on it or something like that. So I do really like the drive belt in that way, and I think it's a lot better for racing because you can enter corners a little bit better, and you also can approach different tracks or attack different tracks in different ways because you have that ability that you just don't have with the drive shaft. Not to say that the drive shaft doesn't perform as well, but for racing specifically, I think that the drive belt would get the 1 in this scenario. So we're gonna put 1 for the performance and 2 for performance for the drive shaft. So right now, total for both are tied at 3 points each. It's really gonna come down to the noise that they make, because that is the final category. And that's something that you have to really take into mind when you are racing or buying an RC car, is the area that you're in and the noise that it's going to be making. So, because you don't want to, irritate the neighbors or anything like that, especially if you live in a city or somewhere that you don't have a lot of space to drive your cars. So we're gonna take a look at the noise section in a second here. All right, welcome to the 4th and final part of today's test. Last category that we have is the noise category. So how I'm going to test that is I'm going to take the Red Cat STX, I'm going to take the Serpent S411, and I'm going to put them on top of this box here and hit them both at full throttle and see how loud they are and compare which one is the loudest, which one is the quietest, and then which one is the loudest, we'll give it 2, which one is the quietest, we'll give it 1. Just so we do note, the S411 is a brushless system, and it's also running a LiPo, whereas the Red Cat STK is a brushed system and is running a nickel metal hydride. So it is important to note on that aspect. But let's take a look at the Red Cat STX or STK and see how loud this thing is. So we're going to position it right up on this box in the middle, and we're going to hit it in 3, 2, 1, full throttle. All right, not bad. It was a pretty decent sound. Wasn't too loud, wasn't too quiet. I think that the metal drive shaft definitely is a little bit more quiet than the plastic one, the hard plastic one that Army uses for their cars. Real quick though, we're going to put the Serpent on the same block. We're going to hit the throttle in 3, 2, we're actually going to make sure it's on 10. 1, 2. Now see, that sounded a little loud as well. I do want to compare. So let's hear it one more time for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I can still hear my counting over the sound of the RC car. Now it is loud, it has a little bit of a quieter sound to it. It's like a wisp instead of a whir that this thing seems to give. So 3, 2, 1 for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, I wasn't able to tell, so I'm gonna take the extra box here. I'm gonna prop it up, and we're going to put it on this box, and we're gonna hit them both at the same time and see which one is louder, which one drowns the other out, if they do. And we'll see. 3, 2, 1. Guys, I think they're the same sound, exact same level of sound. So in that case, I'm gonna have to give them both the same number. So I'll give them both a 1. And ultimately, that means that we are done with our testing. So we're gonna go back to the desk, add it all up, and see which car won. All right, we are back at the table. We have the results in. So it looks like if we add all of the numbers from the drive shaft category, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we add all the numbers from the drive belt category, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a tie. So, yeah, genuinely, taking a look at this list, my reaction is they're equal. That's about the conclusion that I came up with in my mind before I actually went into this video. That they were just about the same, if not one is slightly better than the other, which I actually did want to add my piece. If you guys are doing more racing or more technical racing, I would consider the drive belt as a option to put in your car. Of course, you could use the drive shaft as well. Or if you're using it for more casual, just regular bashing or racing, I would suggest the drive shaft because they are less likely to break or have issues. So again, if you're racing, I'd go with the drive belt. If you're just casually driving, I'd go with the drive shaft. Both are equal in my measurements to how good they both perform. And I mean, we saw it in a brushed or a brushless. Basically, they act the same for the type of car that they're in. So it's just a different experience that you get from using a drive shaft or a drive belt. It really comes down to preference. And I want to show you guys, make this video here today to really acknowledge the two because they are different, and I was kind of trying to figure out which one I wanted to go with, or which one was better when I was looking at RC cars to buy with the drive belt. So if you guys enjoyed this video, it's a little bit different from what we usually do with the RC cars. Leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. This is Wanye from Epic CW, now on X and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm out. Peace.